Remember when James Rolfe bombed on national radio? Today in this video, we're going to revisit his national disaster, and we're going to dig deeper into why exactly it was so tragic. And by the end of it, I will be delivering James Rolfe his sentencing, which will specify what James needs to do in order to atone for this situation. So if anyone is not familiar with the Opie and Anthony radio program, you should have already been aware of it because AVGN James Rolfe had a bumper sticker of Opie and Anthony's radio show in the background of many of his AVGN videos. They were shock jocks, so to speak. They pushed the envelope of edginess and honest commentary. They would roast each other and make a sport out of it. It was gold. Absolutely a broadcasting masterclass in its original peak golden run. It was so good that James Rolfe himself grew up listening to it and then had the opportunity himself to get on the program and be interviewed because Anthony, who's a gamer, became aware of AVGN's content and quite enjoyed it. But as you saw in the title of this video, this radio broadcast interview they did not exactly go well. James Rolfe is not exactly a Charlie Rose. And when they did the AVGN roast, the main thing that they kept hammering James on was just that he's so socially awkward and doesn't have the greatest skills in maintaining a conversational volley back and forth. But to be fair to James, right off the bat, Opie, of the Opie and Anthony hosts, opened things up on a bad start, and he kind of stumbled right out the gate, and that wasn't exactly helping James's confidence and flowing conversation vibes. So listen here now to this opening clip of how the interview began when you're going to hear Opie get AVGN's name wrong, and then he's going to ask how he's doing twice. You know, hey, how you doing? It's a boring, non-tent way of opening the interview as it is. Opie is going to ask him twice, redundantly.
Oh, my God. That sucks. We got Angry Video Game Nerd on the phone. Angry Game Video Nerd, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
It's Opie and Anthony, Jim Norton, and a bunch of other guys. How are you? I said that already.
Up? I'm pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, watched some of your work. I loved it. And you got quite the take on it. It's not just like you're reviewing these things, but you're kind of passionate about it.
Yeah, you got a great way about you as you do this.
Yeah.
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 I know.
Yeah. So what, you play?
Okay, so already, if you're James Rolfe and you've idolized the Opie and Anthony radio show through much of your life, and then you get on the air with them for this prized interview, and within the first minute, they are already mocking you, James, mimicking you, saying, yeah, really piling on the fact that he's giving them almost nothing. And look, I'm not giving James that much of a hard time. He was doing his best. I'm sure that he was exceptionally nervous through all this. But if you're a content creator and you're looking to promote your work, having a baseline competency with basic broadcasting discussions is really something you should fit, right? You should be able to avoid the neophyte landmines of giving these one-word answers that give the host absolutely nothing to work with, and so you're sort of spinning your wheels and now desperately scrambling to think of something else to say inorganically. Even if it's unreasonable for us to expect James Rolfe to have the hosting abilities of David Letterman, as a content creator, someone who's going on a public press tour to promote his videos, he should have at least a baseline understanding about how to effectively promote his projects in the first place. But James thinks of this as an indulgent, oh, now I get to talk about everything I've ever done. You got to make it focused. Give each listener a clear-cut path that's to the point about how to find James Rolfe AVGN content. But instead, listen to all the exhaustive laundry list of things that James is going to rattle through without really being aware of how this is going to be received by the viewing audience.
But I also do them really quickly. Like I, on average, put one out every 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I do them really quickly. As much as I can with the time, I definitely try to step it up as much as I can.
You got a regular job?
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of like all freelance stuff, so I just do a bunch of different things. I'm an editor for dvideography.com, and I have a DVD out, so you can buy the Angry Nerd DVD at screwattack.com.
At what.com?
Screwattack.com.
Screw Attack?
And, yeah.
Okay.
And
your website is
on
Cinemassacre.com, correct?
Yeah, my personal site is Cinemassacre.com. That's Cinema and Massacre put together. You can watch all the videos on GameTrailers.com. And you can see the nerd site at angryvgnerd.com, and that's where you can see an updated list of all the nerd videos up to date.
Are you still the 9th most subscribed video channel on YouTube?
It's at 8 now.
Nice.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Nice.
So a couple minutes later, as they wrap up this segment, you're going to hear Opie put the ball in James' court to, okay, plug one thing, because we're wrapping up now. And then listen to the way the hosts talk about him after he hangs up. Imagine being James Rolfe, hanging up on the phone of that semi-disastrous, awkward interview, and then imagine you're James listening to what those radio hosts are saying about the interview that just occurred. You ready for this?
The we.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for calling our show today, sir.
All right, thanks for having me.
And continued success. Plug one of the many websites one more time. Which one you want to plug the most?
Which one I want to plug? Gee. Well, I guess watch the videos on Game Trailers.
Game Trailers.
That's where
Okay.
they're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, James. Thank you so much. Continued success for you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right. There he goes, James. The
Video
angry
game
video game nerd.
He's into his video games, you know.
What's wrong?
Just saying. Into his video games. Not the most talkative guy when he's not on the.
I had a feeling that was going to happen too, because every time I had to talk to him on the phone, I would try to have a dialogue, and he would just be like, "Okay."
Like when he talks on his reviews, he's really, he's going at it.
Very animated.
Yeah, that's what was so surprising to me, because he's so outgoing and creative with these videos. You figured he would just be able to spew out anything without a problem. And then you
He's
get him
like, so yeah, the video game, and you reviewed that. You reviewed that one, and it was pretty slow moving. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, at least it wasn't, confrontational.
Yeah, that would have been a little awkward.
When you're a radio host and you ask a pre-involved question and the answer is yeah,
Yeah.
it puts you in a weird position.
Because, you need a little more time to think up the next question. Right. So when you just get a yeah, you kind of go, oh, I should have had another question.
We still like James.
I'm gonna
He
check.
might have been a little nervous.
But I think he might have just been intimidated because of the show.
Oh, no.
I mean, he's a fan.
So as we now move into part 2 of this video, let's establish why this particular interaction was so tragic. And it's because Opie and Anthony were pretty hyped to do this interview because they had watched and enjoyed James's content. So listen to this. This was before the interview, but if James caught wind of this at that time, he must have been through the moon with excitement because they're talking about the O&A sticker in the AVGN videos.
Also, loving the Nintendo and video game nerd reviews. You saw those last night. This guy reviews old Nintendo games online. And
I hear he's one of our listeners from Philly, too, listening on WISP, right?
Apparently, because he plays his games on an old piece of crap television. You guys set it to Channel 3.
Yeah.
And he's got the Nintendo or crappy Sega system.
Yeah.
And he plays and reviews these games, and he just reviews them. He does nothing but badmouth them in the foulest language possible. And, he had a WOW sticker, WISP, Opie and Anthony WOW sticker stuck to the side of his television, which is prominently displayed in a couple of his reviews, which are hysterical. The one for Top Gun, great. His Back to the Future review is hysterical. He goes, this Back to the Future game is just like the movie. Remember where Marty McFly was rolling bowling balls down the street at girls in hula hoops trying to kill him?
Yeah.
Hey, what?
Okay, now, not to get too nostalgic and geek out about hearing Anthony talk about specific video games or content about them in such depth, I cannot resist showing you a clip actually from the James interview where they canonically acknowledged the Sega CD. Will it be positive or negative?
So some people have actually sent me games, and so I get lots of stuff in the mail. I get stuff I never heard of. I once mentioned in a video that I didn't have a Sega Saturn, and next thing I got 4 of them in the mail.
Of course you did. They've been sitting in a
Wow.
box for the last 10 years in an attic. It's no surprise.
That thing sucked. I got the Sega Genesis and then the add-on.
The 32X.
Yeah.
CD?
The Sega CD. And, was that awful. They made it look like it was going to be so cool. There was that one game where you went into the sewers, and you're kind of racing around, and it just turned into a turn right, turn left.
Yeah. It's pushed, when the arrows appear.
Yeah, the arrows appeared, and you had to push the button near the arrow, and then it would turn into another what amounted to a cutscene.
Yeah.
Like another Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, another Dragon's Lair.
Okay, and then in that earlier clip before the interview, let's hear Anthony's imprecise commentary on that other Sega Genesis add-on.
He enjoys playing old games, I think, and he just reviews these old crappy games and the systems that go along with them, like the Genesis, the X32, I guess it was called. Yeah. And he just mocks how stupid it looked and worked and didn't work. And he's pretty funny, man. And he just curses, really. He throws together strings of curses.
If that's not enough nostalgia fuel, let's hear iconic broadcaster Anthony Cumia react to the classic line from the song in the AVGN opening theme as implemented in a specific episode. If you can't tell already, the remainder of this section of part 2 of this video is pretty much a nostalgic victory lap, just recollecting some of these iconic time capsule moments where a national radio broadcaster talked in depth about video games and AVGN.
The first thing I really admire is how well it followed the movie, and you gotta love that music. Sounds just like the movie, right? No! And that's it. It just loops over and over again, and you're not gonna believe it, but that's all you hear the entire game.
I don't believe it!
Yep, from the title screen all the way to the end, the same fucking music. I'd rather have a fucking buffalo take a diarrhea dump in my ear than subject them to this horrendous garbage.
Diarrhea dump
In my ear.
Guy gives an honest review.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and the final after-dinner mint before we get to James Rolfe's sentencing is a segment where Patrice O'Neal, who was a frequent, cherished guest on the Opie and Anthony radio program, just hearing him stop and recollect with all seriousness and nostalgia for the different video games that he played when they were new and current at the arcades, it's just, if you know, you know, this is magical. Rest in peace, Patrice.
We were talking about this game, Custer's Revenge. Did you hear us talking about it?
I was listening to that. It was,
wow.
It was
You remember
really
this game?
interesting. Not at all.
Because
Not at all.
You go way back with your gaming,
Yeah, I do.
right?
I go back to where Asteroids was just a triangle, and it was just. I'm a video game guy.
Would you play it in the arcade, Asteroids?
Oh yeah, no, that was big game.
They would have those tabletop games, so you would have your like gin and tonic, whatever the hell we were drinking back then.
Miss
Pac-Man, Acanoid.
Remember that though? It was so cool because it was a glass table and you could play the games while you're drinking right there.
Yep.
On a flat surface.
Millipede, Missile Command. Those
Centipede was a good one too.
Millipede and Centipede. Millipede was all shooting Centipede.
Joust.
Yep. Tempest.
All right, it's time to seal back up this time capsule and move to our final portion of the video, where I will now be delivering James Rolfe his sentencing, which will specify what James needs to do in order to atone for this situation. James Rolfe, I sentence you to take a Skillshare webinar on broadcasting. That's all. Because you do need to be prepared in case the Cinemassacre Podcast is rebooted. You know, there could be a future vaporwave-style scene where people suddenly get nostalgic for that era of the Cinemassacre Podcast and its dead-end indulgent banter and stream-of-consciousness ramblings, tied up with a neat bow with a sense of awkwardness and an ongoing struggle to maintain a flowing conversational volley. So I look forward to that. And James, I look forward to your eventual appearance on Piers Morgan. Basically, we just want to see a much more clear and concise plug. Give all the potential new people who could discover your work a clear-cut, unambiguous, easy-to-remember path to enter the wonderful, unforgettable, influential world of Cinemassacre and Angry Video Game Nerd. Good night, everybody!